All right, welcome to Thursday, the Christmas holiday edition of the BAC Story. And now, because everyone, well, only Peggy complains, how about a new theme song?
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows
And
your
here she
name.
is. Any better?
And they're always glad you came.
I don't like you're plagiarizing again,
Wanna be where you can see troubles are
Something
all
about
the
a recovery show.
You wanna be where everybody
The theme song is about a bar.
Yeah, that's really appropriate.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry
I know you're back from Hawaii, which is I still see a little bit of a tan.
I was very little tan, actually. It rained the whole entire time, but that's okay. It was
And
beautiful.
my prayers were answered. I was doing a dance here in Cincinnati, trying to evoke the gods of
So
bad
mean.
weather for
You're
you.
so mean.
Christmas is always this. I keep this on my desk, and I know you've heard the story, but this was the reminder. This was the Christmas that was the Christmas when I thought maybe I have a drinking problem, because I got this as a gift at Christmas time, and I was doing a new office, and when I opened this thing, I thought this was a wicker koozie. I thought it was a decorative wicker beer koozie, and I thought, what a lousy. Why would anyone have a wicker beer koozie? And but I thought maybe when you have guests over, a nice dinner or something, you get out the wicker beer koozie. And luckily, I didn't say anything. And about a half hour later, I realized, hey, you problem drinker, it's a pen holder. So I keep that as a reminder. That was the Christmas when I first learned maybe there's a sign from above that you have a drinking problem.
Maybe. I don't know. That will probably fit some of the new ready to drink non-alcoholic drinks that we
I
have.
tried it that morning, and a regular can, it comes close,
they're
but it just was
skinnier.
a little tight. But no, that was it only took me 8 years after I got that slap to the face, a reminder that maybe you have a drinking problem. It only took another 8 years or so before I finally heeded the warning.
I think it took me 10, so you're way ahead of me.
That's awesome. Well, holidays are here. It's we're rolling. I know I guess the whole country is. You chose to go up into the snow. I know.
I know. What's wrong with me?
But we're hours away from dropping about 40 degrees, so we'll see what happens. But anyways, I am thrilled that we have your good friend Heather Lowe. Heather, I'm gonna do this to get you a little centered more. But Heather, you've got a site. I'm running the thing on the bottom, ditchedthedrink.com, which is a lot of fun. I actually downloaded some of the sober success tips, the free PDF that you have in there, which is some really good stuff. I love that. But welcome to the show. How are things going? You're up in Chicago, so you're
yes. So look at my shirt with your theme song. Something is very
there we go.
Synchronous.
Perfect.
Can you believe it?
That is hysterical.
Like
yeah, that's great.
We didn't. We're on the same wavelength, right?
Well, maybe that's a sign, because Peggy hates my theme music anyways, the normal one. So who knows? Maybe we'll stick with the Cheers thing for 3 weeks until I get slapped with an $8,000 fine for copyright infringement, but that's okay. Well, we're so glad you're here. So real quick, you've got the site, and I got it running on the bottom, ditchedthedrink.com. Just start off. I want to hear about the site. I want to hear about your story. Where were you, and when did you decide, and why did you decide to put down I guess you were a wine connoisseur, but put down the drink?
Yeah. Wow. Just starting it off right then and there.
Let's get to the meat of it. Tell us about your problem.
Get to it, right? Yeah.
When did you realize you were at the bottom of the barrel of life?
I mean, this is what I really tried to avoid, like the rest of us, right? I didn't want to ditch the drink at all. In fact, I tried very, very hard to keep the drink. I left claw marks in my wine bottles, boxes, gallons, what have you. I really didn't want to quit drinking. I really didn't want to have a problem with alcohol, and I didn't want alcohol to be the problem for me. So I just had always been a drinker, and I think there's something to contribute to that, but it was in my genetics, it was in my environment, it was in my culture, it was just something everybody did around me. So I fell right in, and it wasn't always a problem. But I will say, when I was 21 years old, legal drinking age, I had already written in my diary, I'm afraid I'm an alcoholic.
Wow.
I would quit drinking for the last time 21 years later, almost to the day. So it's something. Go ahead.
No, you said about not wanting to quit. And I was talking about with someone the other day that I wanted to quit all the bad, but I did not want to give up the good of drinking.
I
I wanted to
have
pick and choose what
consequences,
part of that
right?
beer I could hold on to.
Right. I wanted everyone else to stop bothering me about it, to be honest. And I didn't want any consequences, but I wanted to keep drinking. So I don't know anything different. I had my first drink at 12, and I labeled myself a drinker. I liked drinking. I was a party girl. It didn't always seem like a problem, but obviously, like everybody else, it gradually grew over time and eventually became my only coping mechanism. And the thing I cared most about, the thing I thought about all the time, thinking about drinking, right? And it was a real way to avoid the real issues. So I did a sober experiment. Let's see, this would have been about 8 years ago. I followed Belle from Tired of Thinking About Drinking, and she had a 100-day challenge, and I decided to do that. And I made it to 70 days, and I thought I was cured. So hallelujah, I went back to drinking. I love the word. Clearly, I had no problem. Perfect. This is great. And I had no problem, and now I'll go back to drinking again. And so
how quick, how was
I would say that was I would say that was like the best failure of my whole life, because even though I only made it to 70 days instead of 100, I learned so much in those 70 days. I learned like how to started this relationship with myself that I didn't have before, to start to tune in and listen to me. And when my head hit the pillow at night, I started to feel proud of myself. And when I woke up, I started to feel proud of myself again. And I was going to bed as a drinker, with so much shame, and then waking up with so much shame, and just ignoring and avoiding everything, that this relationship from me to me started to grow, and it started to feel really good. And even if everybody else around was drinking, I was sticking to my promise to myself. So that felt amazing. And I went back to drinking, and of course I was just going to moderate. And of course that lasted for one hot second before it rolled right into over drinking again. And anyways, it was 3 years where I did these on off drinking experiments. And I would say they were all to try to keep alcohol in my life. Finally, on February 20th of 2018, almost 5 years ago, I was employed at the time. I was depressed. I had done eulogies for 3 people that I loved that were out of order deaths within 3 years. So my fun drinking kind of spiraled to self-medication of grief, home alone, avoiding my family, avoiding my feelings. And so anyways, I was in a really down spot. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was unemployed. It was I was out to dinner with my husband, and he mentioned something that alcohol wasn't helping me. And I was mad to hear that, of course. So I just left my glass of wine right there at this very unimportant, it was a steakhouse in a little town next to us. It was a very unimportant place. And I had never left my wine before, but I left it to I'll show him the problem isn't wine. The problem's obviously him and all these other things, right? It's my grief, it's my job, it's my marriage, it's not wine. But I left it right there to prove a point. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew something had to change. And I knew that this was for good, that I had to give it a real try. not like an experiment, but like I was going to quit drinking and this was going to change our life. And I fell to my knees and surrendered to him and asked him to help. And I had never done that before because I'm somebody who doesn't need any help. I've got it all together, you know, high performer, high achiever, perfectionist, people pleaser, all those things. I would never want to call attention to myself for a problem or even admit that I had a problem. And when I finally did, as you can see, like it took like someone peeling my fingers off the bottle to say, enough, Heather. So he was so happy to help. He wanted some direction. He didn't know what to do because although I was over drinking and you could see that that was taking over, I was still getting up and making lunches for my kids every day. I was still showing up. You know, I didn't lose my job because of drinking. In fact, my career, I was going up the ladder. We can talk about that too. I was drinking up the ladder just like I was supposed to do in and being rewarded with alcohol. So it was just like a random Tuesday where I didn't get anything. I just left up half a glass of wine at the steakhouse for the first time in my life and came home and went to bed and woke up and said, that's it. And I had no idea that it really would be the end. And it was. It started the path to true sobriety where I'm at now. So grateful, almost 5 years into it.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to say one thing that happened to me too. It was my daughter that asked me to do something about my drinking. And like you, I've never heard this before. I had to write it down. Drinking up the ladder. That's exactly what happened to me. I just kept getting more successful. And I think that that's the really hard part sometimes is that you people are telling you how good you are career-wise. I mean, I got Teacher of the Year and I went home and drank a bottle of wine. And so I think if we're perfectionists and we really are very driven, we think that it's very important to conquer drinking. Like to get, you know,
Absolutely.
I got it. If I decide to quit, that's fine. But I'm going to be able to prove to everybody around me that I can control this thing. So and down to the knees. I mean, honestly, I think if I have one really big grateful thing, it really is around the fact that I got down on my knees and I heard these words that said, Peggy, you're done and you're going to be okay. And so I really haven't had all that stuff a lot of other people go through. I was done. I knew it. I mean, it doesn't mean that I didn't have 1,000 day ones before that, but that day I was done. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was going to ask Heather because she made a great point that I didn't judge my need or my desire to quit was not based upon how I felt about how I was performing. I looked at, I was still successful in my job. I was still doing the things. I was still answering. So there, I put my decision was based, if those things were okay, that's all that mattered, even though I wouldn't look at the fact that I was sweating at night in a panic, anxiety. I drank so that I could fall asleep or pass out because when I laid down, I had to sit there and feel the shame and the regret of how I was living. So I drank until I could just pass out, not have to face that. And then the next day I drank so I could, because I had to face those feelings in the morning. But I based it on how I was performing, not how I felt inside. How did you make that change? Was it just something you woke up with?
That's just, I hear you. Same, guys. And for my clients too, and what I say is drinking actually fueled my over functioning. Drinking fueled my over functioning. So in my Sober Secrets guide that you downloaded from my website, you'll see one of my big tools is underwhelm. Underwhelm yourself in the beginning when you're trying to ditch the drink, because if you're somebody like me and somebody like you guys, it sounds like super high functioners, super high performers, perhaps perfectionists and all this stuff, that drinking fuels that. It's this push mentality. And I drank and got it done. I drank and was a robot doing everything that I needed to do, right? Like almost like a Stepford wife at work and at home and with the kids, and just drinking to fuel this. And so to stop that was I had to rest. I have to force myself to rest. And I have to have the discipline to rest and slow down and recognize when this overwhelm is bubbling up inside of me. I have to create boundaries. I have to ask for help. I have to delegate things. I have to spend a lot of time alone in solitude. I need to journal. I need to meditate. I need to slow down to enjoy my life, because my life is to be enjoyed and to connect, and not just to produce, right? And not just to check everything off my list every day, which I'm highly efficient at, as you can imagine. So it is a discipline to stop.
I love that. So how far into your sobriety did you decide, well, I think I'm going to create Ditch the Drink? Tell me about how that came about.
Yeah. So I was 1 year sober. And first of all, I held this really close to my chest, what I was doing, because I was afraid of failure. Of course, I didn't know it was my last day one forever. So my inner circle was the only people that knew. And when I was 1 year sober, I did a Facebook announcement. So now I'm all out there as sober coach and telling everybody in the world. But for anybody who's watching this, who's in the beginning, I want you to know that in the first year, I was hiding under my covers. I was avoiding things. I was crying myself to sleep, right? I didn't have anything to do on Saturday nights because I didn't have friends. So I was going to the gym by myself, like a really sad, lonely person, and not telling anybody that I was being sober now or being alcohol free. So after 1 year, I announced it on Facebook, and the response was beautiful and incredible. Everybody was so happy to hear that, because my opinion, the only response to anybody saying they're not drinking right now, they're not drinking tonight, they've quit drinking, any of those things, is a standing ovation. I mean, that is the only acceptable response, I think. But I was scared that people would look at me like I had 3 heads, or call me an alcoholic, or, oh God, she had a problem, or any of those things that I didn't want. So I went in Facebook and I said it out loud. And then I did a symposium at a local community college where I spoke out loud and cried, of course, first time telling my story. I'll probably cry tonight too. That's part of it, of course, even though I've said it a million times. And I was between jobs, and I was getting offers for the same jobs that I had. And my career history is that I got a degree in social work, and I very quickly moved to human resources. And then most of my career, I was selling HR solutions locally, nationally, and globally. So I was working part-time when my little one went to kindergarten. I took a really big job in the city with long hours of commute, with a team that I directed, and late nights and early mornings, lots of drinking and the whole thing. That didn't work. So I moved up the ladder to another job. At the last one, there was a keg in the office. I was offered a beer at my 10 a.m. interview, which I didn't take, but I teased if it was wine, I would have. I tease about that, but honestly, if it was wine, I would have. But anyways, so I was just like struggling between mothering and, anyways, none of these jobs sang my soul. I was good at them. I was a top salesperson. I got rewarded with, President's Club trips and all you can drink, happy hours, vacations, whatever, the whole thing. But it was never right for my soul. I always wanted to help people. And after a year of me being sober, I wanted to go back to my social work roots, and I wanted to help other women, people, anybody, but women like me. I just wanted to reach my hand out to them and pull them over the bridge of early sobriety. And I wanted to let them know all the things that worked for me, everything that I did, all the resources I use. So I started Ditch the Drink, and it started a 6-week online class. So I set myself up, and I did a little video every day, 2 days, with a lesson. And I included all these resources that they helped me, the podcasts and the books and the articles and the YouTubes and the meditations and the, just different activities, whether that be journaling or whatever, changing your environment, things like that. And I for business. My husband's like, do you think you can make like this much money? And I was like, I really have no idea. I have no idea because I've never done this before. So I did my first little cohort. My mom was my first student to sign up. And anyways, I got certified as a coach. And then the app just grown. So now I do one-on-one coaching. I recruit coaches. I mentor new coaches. I have a membership, and I still have that little online class, which I keep thinking I'm going to get rid of, but I can't because it's so sweet because I was so close to early sobriety. You know, it's like I was so close to what people are going through when they're first deciding to take a chance at ditching the drink. So, yeah, that's my story. Just keep going with it.
Hey, I want to ask the two of you, just because I've got you on here. People talk about, you know, the trips. You know, I was doing great, and or during my experiment, I had a slip or whatever. And here's the scenario: if I decide to get in shape and I work out 360 days out of the year, and I take five days I don't, that's a stellar year. If I want to lose weight and I diet like a champ 360 days out of the year, that's fantastic. Look how healthy you're going to be. But you have one day of drinking in a period like that, and the world crashes. What is the difference? How do you address that? And I know that one is addictive. Just kind of curious, what is your answer to that?
So I'll go first. I don't use language like for myself, like relapse or even recovery. In fact, I call it discovery because recovery is like going back to who you were before this started. For me, I'm just brand new. Now I've taken all those experiences and carried it with me. So I don't say recovery. I don't call myself an alcoholic. If anybody can call me that, surely that's true. It doesn't matter. It's not for me. It doesn't matter. But so I don't use a word like relapse, but to prove it, like with my clients, I talk about something called prelapse because you're thinking about it before the alcohol hits your lips. There's a whole series of things that happened that led you up to that, right? And those are the things to learn from. And like a baby learning to walk, it takes a lot of falls. You have to fall on your butt a lot of times and just keep it up. And it's never the trying to quit drinking, it's the trying again and the trying again and the trying again and adding in new support, trying different, more support, more support, more support. That will always be the answer for everybody as far as I'm concerned. So if there's a slip, let's say, I go back to where that started. Like, why did you drive down that street where you knew that liquor store was that you've been avoiding, but to this day you went, and then why did you walk in? Right? Or why did you decide yes to hang out with that ex-boyfriend? Or whatever the case might be. So I use it as a learning opportunity. It's not a failure. It's part of the process.
You know, that's a great answer, because I take even a craving. I tell people, what a gift you're given, because you have now something that you can learn from. You know, or if you did have a slip or a trip, okay, we can either turn that into complete and beat ourselves up, or we can take it as a gift and go, okay, I got a great chance to learn from that. Why did I do that? What could I have done differently? What should I have done? What shouldn't I have done? What did I miss?
Yeah.
It's something. It's a great chance if it's used correctly.
Absolutely. It's an opportunity. And for me, so here's, like I said, my big failure, my trying to go 100 days, only go 70, that planted a really beautiful seed for me. So I love that failure. Another time I was 5 months sober, and I went to Mexico with my husband's work, and him and I were flying separately because he was coming from a business trip. So I was 5 months sober, not telling anybody, traveling with his work people. We got there and they offered us a welcome drink with or without tequila. I chose without tequila. And I took one sip of that drink and it was tequila. And I set it down like, oh, no. And I looked around and I went back and I finished that drink. And then I was like, I mean, it lit up immediately. I was like, I just had tequila. So I went and sat down with everybody and they ordered jalapeno cilantro margaritas for the table. Well, that sounded delicious. I wanted one too. Wasn't going to say like, oh no, no alcohol. I wasn't saying, whatever. I had a margarita and then I had a second margarita. And then my husband showed up and I was like, I'm drinking with your people. It's cool. It's no big deal. It's just Mexico. And I had wine that night and I woke up hungover and I had plans to do yoga and a walk on the beach and all these beautiful things. Well, I drank that whole vacation, never going to bring it home with me. Never going to, the whole deal. Well, of course I did. Now that's the most beautiful lesson because I couldn't want alcohol while I'm on a vacation or sitting at a beach or sitting in a pool. I wouldn't. I did that. I know what that is. And I know that I don't want that anymore. So it's not a temptation for me at all. So I'm grateful for that experience because I carry it with me. So for anyone who went through, here's the other thing. You can go through periods of drinking and periods of not drinking while you're trying to figure this out. Those aren't failures. Some people come to me and they say like, I tried somebody else's program. Well, how did you do? Well, I didn't drink while I was doing that program, but I failed. Why? Because I'm drinking now. Well, did you have a goal to stop drinking for the rest of your life? No. I had a goal to stop drinking for 30 days. And you did? Yeah. I was like, well, that sounds like that was success then. Do you want to talk about not for longer? Because we can do that, right? But then projecting ourselves against things that aren't even, goals that we set for ourselves.
It's interesting because, it's almost to go into a day when I'm quitting today without a plan, without really evaluating and understanding why we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, learning how to do it, getting everything in a row. I don't want to say no, don't quit drinking yet, but you almost kind of want to say, no, you're setting yourself up for failure. Let's figure out how to do it and get the full understanding. And when we do this, we do it right. But how do you can't tell someone not to do it.
Well, and
failing can be part of the process too.
Am I sounding super echoey?
You're just as wonderful and sweet and kind as you always sound.
All right, so it's on my end. Because I'm a social worker, I just believe that people can grow and change, right? And I look at my own self and how I was moving forward a little bit every time. And so I think that's what's important. And I knew I would love Heather because it's that same kind of philosophy is that you can't beat yourself up. It's what did you learn? Right? What works about drinking? What worries you about drinking? And what do you think your next step is going to be? Right? That's exactly how we work with families that abuse their kids. We're abusing our body. So, yeah.
Yeah, I say the same. Like, if we could beat ourselves into better behavior, we would have already done that. Because certainly, how many mornings have we tried to beat ourselves into being better? And then 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock rolls around that day, and we're right back to that bottle. You don't beat yourself into better behavior. You love yourself. You show compassion. And you accept yourself right there in your ugly, dark hole when you're at your very worst. When you can love and accept yourself from that place, you grow. When you just drink again, even though you swore you wouldn't, you love yourself right there. You stop the negative self-talk. You shut up that loud inner critic and you say, I did make a mistake and I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
I'm here with me. I'll sit with me in this hole. And one by one, we're going to get out.
Well, I think that's the beauty of modern recovery. I really do. That you don't have to start over,
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that in the same way. The families I work with, they can't change overnight. And the thing is, for them, they have an artificial timeline. We don't. They may have 18 months, 24 months to figure out how to keep their kids safe. It's really very parallel, right? That we have the time to do it if we don't lose our job and DUI and all.
Heather, go run with this a little bit, because the compassion, if anyone came to me and said, hey, I drank less, I would, hey, no problem, pick, life goes on, let's fix it, let's do it. I would encourage anyone. The guy in the mirror, I'm going to beat the what out of the guy. And I think we all do that. I will be, and I mean it. I am compassionately understanding and forgiving, and hey, don't worry about it. Let's learn, let's go. But the dude in the mirror that I'm looking at, you are worthless. You're a piece of, I'll tear myself to shreds. So it is that self-compassion thing is hard. How do you, I guess, how do you find that?
I had to grow it. I had to develop and cultivate it. And it started with listening. It started with listening to myself. So a big reason I drank, or how alcohol turned for me, was a way to make Paul, so I didn't think the things I thought, because I didn't want to think.
Say it again. You just cut out for a second. The turn was what?
That I just poured alcohol on my own thoughts. I drank to not hear myself. Right. I didn't want to hear what I had to say. I was afraid.
Me too.
Of what I was thinking. And I didn't want to know that. Or I didn't want to hear that. So I just poured alcohol on it. It started with hearing what I have to say, recognizing it. I like to write, so I'm a writer. So it's a journal for me. And I started on day one, whatever. I started on day two, journaling. And my whole year, every single morning, I started with the Daily Stoic. I read a daily reflection from the Daily Stoic, and then I journaled and sat myself. And like Julia Cameron of Morning Pages, or The Artist's Way, says, it was a way to get out the cobwebs. So it wasn't a beautiful journal. It was fuck you, and fuck you too. I don't know if you can say that, but that's what my journal was.
No, that's
and to start hearing myself and recognizing my thoughts. So journaling was a place for me to do that. And I started to just get on my own team, and I just started to, instead of telling myself I wasn't good enough, just how could I be soft? How could I take care of myself in that moment? How could I think the best of me and not the worst of me, And I started to do that, and I see, I'm hurting, or I'm in pain, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm human, right?
The journaling, I can't stress that. And I work with a lot of men, and I think that's I didn't journal. And I sure as heck didn't want to share my failures. But I was just talking with someone the other night, and they were asking me a lot of questions. And they said, are you okay with me asking these questions? I said, no, I'm thrilled that you're asking me these questions, because when I answer your question, two people are hearing it, and I'm one of them. I'm hearing. So for me to either put it down on paper or to verbalize it to someone, I hear it. Now, if I put it down on paper, I can read it, and I'm actually reading like something else, someone else's words, but they're mine. Same thing with sharing it. When I was getting asked these questions, I was real interested to hear what I was going to say, because I don't think I can hear it when it's stuck in here. So I think that, that journaling, for me, the talking about it is that's how I learn.
There's a lot of science behind it.
Yeah.
Lots of science.
Yeah.
Heather,
and goals are more likely to happen if you write them down.
Yeah, definitely. What would you tell your 18-year-old self about drinking? What would you tell your daughter? What do you tell your daughter?
Yeah. That's a really great question. I love it. And it leads right into what I was going to say about with the self-compassion. Alcohol was me abandoning myself over and over again. And if I could tell my 18-year-old self to stop abandoning myself right then and there. I drank to fit in at parties. I drank so people would think I was fun or funny. I drank so I had the courage to talk to boys, or even kiss a boy that I didn't really want to kiss because he wanted to kiss me, right?
Right.
So I from a very young age drank to abandon myself. And it worked, and it got worse over time.
Mhm.
And if I could go back, I would have started to, I mean, what you know now, right? But for my daughters, not to abandon themselves, to listen to their voice within, to listen to their intuition, to let
It's such a
themselves actually
self-perpetuating
be themselves.
destruction, because I was the same way. That I lost the ability to cope or to deal with any situation because alcohol worked for this one. So I carried it over to this one, this one, this one. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was there was I lost the confidence to do anything without alcohol. Whether it was the normal stuff, and for me, I was such an anxiety ridden, that riddled or whatever the word is. I was so I feared the fear of anxiety so much that I drank over the major issues of anxiety. Well, it worked, and then it got to the point where even the normal fears, like um, standing up in front of someone at church, or just something that is normal to feel those things, but our body, I panicked at the fear of fear, so I threw alcohol at everything. So I lost the ability
Mhm.
to cope with the normal fears in addition to the anxiety and the panic fears. And
Mhm.
and I had to relearn all those things.
Yeah,
What's
I
your
hear you.
purpose?
I don't think I had a coping skill.
Yeah.
What's
What's your
that, Heather?
purpose, your North Star? What's
Hmm.
what are you in this for?
Mm. It's that Venn diagram of what the world needs and what you're at and what you love to do. I have found it, and it took me 42 years, but it's always what I've been meant to do. I have a beautiful little story. When I was in third grade, I started a business from my closet called Dare to Dream. And I was going to help people live their dreams. And the only clients I had at that time in third grade was my cat. So I guess I was going to help cats live their best life or live their dreams. When I started Ditch the Drink, I was working from my closet bonus room.
Mhm.
And so I recognized DTD, Dare to Dream, from a closet. DTD, Ditch the Drink, from my
That's
closet.
awesome.
How full circle
That is
this had come.
awesome.
This is
Oh my
exactly
God,
what I've been
I'm
meant to
so
do. And
glad
I
I
know
asked
it
that.
is because I'm in flow. And these opportunities come to me and I meet these people. I meet you guys and you play the Cheers theme song and I'm wearing this shirt that we had no idea
Exactly.
about, right? Like,
Exactly.
I'm in flow
We
and everybody that meets with me drinks less or not at all. So it works. It works to get help and it works to have somebody hear you, report back to you, be accountable, be a cheerleader, and lead you through change because it's hard. And all these people have a hard time asking for help. And once they do, they crack open and they transform their life and they get to live an awakened life like I have. So I'm just going to keep going, keep connecting, keep sharing, keep supporting. I love it. And I'm having so much fun. I'm having so much fun doing it. And I will say, if it
You
wasn't
nailed the
fun to
thing.
be sober,
No, you nailed it, because it's asking for help, is admitting failure, especially someone like yourself who's successful in your career, successful in your marriage, or your being raising a family, whatever. Um, it's to wave the white flag. I was raised with football. You never show pain. You don't show a weakness. You would never go up to your coach and say, "Hey, this guy's better than me. I'm struggling. I need help." Because you're on the bench if that way. I was conditioned. You don't ask for help. You just try harder until you can get it done. And I tried harder to not drink for a long, long time. And it wasn't until I finally maybe was broken down, beaten to the point, ran out of reasons not to, when I finally said, I need help. I can't do this.
Mhm.
And that was And I wish, God, I wish I had asked that question. It would have saved me a lot.
I think
But
we
I
do it
was-
when we're ready. I think we don't do it until we're absolutely ready to do it. And when you just beat yourself up about it. Heather, what's the best compliment you've received since you put down the glass?
Oh my gosh. Well, first I have to tell you, just because I'm so vain, the best I've ever received was from a friend's mom. And she said, "You can tell she's a dancer by the way she walks." That's what she said about me. And that is like just my favorite compliment of all times. Okay. I'm totally full of vanity, but I just love it because I love to dance.
Are you a dancer?
And I love it. I love
Are you
that
a
she could see that
dancer?
about me. I mean,
Oh,
I'd love to dance. I'm not a dancer, okay? Oh, I'm a person that
that's
loves to
so
dance.
cool.
Um,
How do we get a hold of you? How do people
Oh.
sign up for your program? Where do they go?
yeah,
And then I
well,
want to talk a little bit about
ditchthedrink.com.
Sober in the City.
Yeah, ditchthedrink.com is my website. Download my free Sober Secrets Guide. You will get on my newsletter. I typically send a weekly newsletter. I'm taking my biggest break right now, so probably for the next 3 weeks there won't be one. But typically there's a newsletter every single week with resources and information. I love to write and I love to read. So if anybody's like an old school blogger, likes to read blogs, I write a blog almost every week, every other week, at least a couple of months. So you can stay in touch with me on the website, definitely. I've also got my online program. If you want 6 weeks to practice experiencing alcohol free and getting some tools and how to do that, you can one-on-one coaching. You can schedule a complimentary call with me. And I have a membership. It's $29.99. I do a monthly master class that's recorded. I call in other experts for that class. Typically, there's meetings twice a month. There's a private online forum. So we can connect in all sorts of ways. I'm on everything social. Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook. No Twitter, no TikTok, but everywhere else probably as Ditch the Drink. I love to connect with people. So I love to hear stories. I love to help people out.
Peggy, I know your connection's a little lousy, so you can throw in the little buzzwords or the dates, but I know that you've got your Sober in the City event, which is in Palm Springs, which is in February.
Right. We'll put the link when we float this on my website and my Facebook page and yours.
We'll put that up. But Heather, you're one of the speakers on Friday night, I believe.
Yeah, live and in person with Peggy. I can't wait. We're gonna party, bring the house down, connect and share. We're gonna have so much fun. So I was gonna say, for anyone
and a
out
dance
there
recital right after, correct? A dance
recital. I'll
right
dance on stage. I mean, if you ask, why not? Play my song. You know what I mean? I'll be happy to dance. I would not be sober if I was not having fun. I want everyone to know that, because that was a big fear of mine. That a sober life was sad. And I was not about to live a sad life. I mean, I got too much. Fun is like a top value of mine, and I'm having a freaking blast.
The word "stop" when it comes to drinking, stopping is red, and I did not want to. I feared sobriety because it meant stopping everything that I wanted to do, and you couldn't have convinced me until I lived it. It's a green light. And all I can say to people is, if you're not sure, give yourself the opportunity to decide. Give yourself the chance. You can always go back if you're not happy with it. But I don't think I've ever yet to meet anyone that's gone through this journey that says they wish they hadn't. I've yet to find anyone who's not. And then the last question, and then we'll let you go here. But Peggy, a lot of people are really excited because they're wanting me to show the presents that you brought for me from Hawaii. And you're going to blame it on the shipping containers that are still out at sea.
They're at the other house, for real, though.
Supply chain issues.
They're at the other house. For real.
you build me up, Buttercup, just to let me down once again.
I know.
Hey, Heather, thank you so much for being here. We'll go back with
Sometimes you wanna go.
but appreciate you being here, and I guess we'll see you at Sober in the City in Palm Springs. Peggy,
Hang out for a minute, Heather.
Jazz
okay,
hands.
yeah. Get your connection fixed, Peggy. When you're on vacation and remote things, it's we got to priorities. Okay. All right. Well, look, we'll see everyone. Have a great Christmas, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.